We've got to the end of the first section in understanding people, and by way of a summary, in the next 3 slides I have some of the key hopeful takeaways from the various topics that we've had a look at. So the first one is that our brain imposes order on what we see. Depending upon the position, the shape, the colour, the surrounding, all of these are things then that our brain uses to provide a visual structure, an interpretation of it that we become aware of. And what that means from a designer point of view is that we can use this in terms of how we position our visual elements, how we size them, the type of contrast, the orientation and so on, so that the arrangement that we have, we can be fairly confident then will be naturally interpreted by the brain to convey that target structure. The second bit is that cognitively, when we think about how we think, we have many limitations. There's lots of things we're really, really good at, but there's also a number of things where we're not that good at. For example, we're easily persuaded by irrelevant anchors. Our minds wander after a few minutes of activity. The amount of time we can focus on something is very limited as well. We can't really multitask, and our short-term working memory is quite limited. And when we make errors, and we do make errors, we generally tend to make predictable types of errors. So these are all limitations. They're all very human factors. There's nothing wrong with them, but they're just aspects that we can struggle with. And one of the key things we want to do then is when we're designing software is to make sure we design software that has these things in mind, that tries to support the user and doesn't put the user in a position where they have to rely upon some of those aspects, because we know people will struggle if they need to remember 8 or 9 items, or if we expect them to remain concentrated on an important activity for 30 minutes. Those are things we should design out of our software. And the final point then, our final takeaway, is that people want to exercise choice in terms of what they do. We want to provide our users with choice, but we want to do that in a balanced way. We don't want to give our users too much choice. So in that sense, we just want to provide them with the right amount of choice. We appreciate that quite often our users will satisfy. So they will pick the first satisfactory outcome, and we'll want to design our software then so that we present those types of what we think is the right outcome for the user up nice and early in a visible way, so the user can see them and then has a chance to integrate that into whatever choices they are making. So that brings us to the end of this particular section. In the next section, we're going to delve into some aspects around interface and visual design and design interaction. We'll look at some models, we'll look at some practical advice, and these will be more tangible aspects that we can use when we're thinking about modeling user goals, all the way through to how do we design and set out an interface.